Our presentation is going to be on what is Asperger syndrome. Hi, my name is Carlos Acosta, and I'm doing this presentation on Asperger syndrome for Touro College, and the professor's name is Professor Levy. I'm going to talk about Asperger syndrome and what it is. Asperger syndrome is a disorder that falls in the autism spectrum. Asperger syndrome limits a person socially and behaviorally. However, those with Asperger syndrome are not cognitively and linguistically challenged like others in the autism spectrum, yet they face many obstacles. Asperger's syndrome, children who face Asperger's syndrome lack social skills. They find difficulties in eye contact and facial expressions. People with Asperger's syndrome struggle to emotionally understand other people. However, Asperger have a large amount of vocabulary but have unusual speech patterns. Over here I have a couple of posters that demonstrate what Asperger's is. If you come over here, this will be the first poster. Okay, what is Asperger's syndrome? Okay, Asperger's is a developmental disorder which falls within the autism spectrum. Asperger's syndrome refers to by many as high-functioning autism. It is a developmental disorder that is not widely understood. Main features of this disorder becomes obvious during early childhood and remains constant throughout life. Although the common feature and degree of actual impairment can vary, rarely recognized before the age of 3, it is more common in boys than girls. Core features of the syndrome are lack of social skill, as I explained earlier, limited ability to have a two-way conversation, and an intense interest in a particular subject. Most of these children attend normal primary school. There's how it affects them communication-wise. And here will be the picture. The light shaded will be the person represented as having Asperger's syndrome. Okay. Description: although these children are often highly articulate, content of speech may be abnormal, tending to be pandemic and often centering on one or two favorite topics. Sometimes a word or phrase is repeated over and over in a stereotyped fashion. Usually there is a comprehension deficit despite apparent superior verbal skills. Non-verbal communication, both expressive and receptive, is often impaired. And here's some cartoons, okay, just demonstrating, okay, again, a person having a conversation with a person with Asperger's syndrome. And the person, while having the conversation, you see question marks and exclamation marks. Okay? Here the person with Asperger's syndrome usually goes off and thinks of his own repetitive ideas. Here, making rare eye contact, the person is looking away while this person is speaking to the person with Asperger's syndrome. Okay? And here, the lack of concentration. Okay? The person is saying, hold on a minute. And the person with Asperger's syndrome is saying, hold on to what? We're going to move on to social interaction. There tends to be impairment in two ways: social interaction due to an inability to understand the rules governing social behavior. A lack of empathy with others and a little or no eye contact may be evident. Can appear to be stuck at an egocentric stage of social and emotional development. They tend to perceive the world exclusively from their own point of view. Although interested in social relations, often social contact is made inappropriately. And here, some cartoons. Again, the lightly shaded person is a person with Asperger syndrome. And here you have two people trying to interact with the person with Asperger syndrome. And the comment says, let's knock them over. Yeah. Okay? Because the person is often teased and bullied by other children. Here, the odd one out. Usually other kids are comfortable playing with everyone else, and they usually leave the person with Asperger syndrome out because they think in some way or another that they're weird. Or here it says indifferent to physical contact. Social behavioral, okay? Social behavior is often naive and peculiar, can tend to become intensively attached to a particular possession, often engaging in repetitive activities, resistant to change, coping best when life is predictable. They prefer structure and may concentrate exclusively on matters in which they are interested, are often known as loners, who never quite fit in because of eccentric behavior, peculiar ways of speaking, and a lack of social skills. And here, again, this will be the person representing the person with Asperger syndrome. Familiar route is where he usually will tend to want to go to. Different route becomes a problem for them. Transition is usually hard. Eccentric or unusual behavior are often signs of kids who have, or people who have, Asperger syndrome. Inappropriate laughing or giggling, and solitary repetitive play. Now I was looking at a website, and funny enough, I found an interesting story of a mother who ended up making a sign or a picture for her child who had Asperger syndrome. And this, I'm going to show a representation of it, or a little, I made it into a big poster, just showing how she spelled out Asperger syndrome, and for each letter, something, a representation of what the child is supposed to feel, or what the child was feeling, and how he was able to better cope by the mother doing this. And I'm going to come over here to show you this. Come down. Go back. Go back. The whole poster says Asperger's. Okay? Each letter represents something. And I'm going to read. A represents anxiety. Seems to come out, and this will be the person or the child was reading this daily whenever he needed to cope with being upset or going through something problematic. He will come over and read this. A, anxiety, seems to come out of nowhere, sometimes for no reason. I'm afraid of doing the wrong thing. Sometimes I worry a lot and I'm scared that I might be a bad person. S, strange. Thoughts run through my head at random. Sometimes I can make them stop, but other times I can't. I associate strange things like the number 11 with white bread dipped in tomato sauce. P, people. People don't understand me sometimes, and I'm afraid. Regular ed kids will never accept me. They don't think the way I do and don't understand me. E, eye contact. Bothers me. I don't know why I have trouble looking at people when I talk to them, nor do I know why I don't like being touched. R, routine. It's important and helps me focus. I hate major changes and fear the unknown. I worry a lot about the future and find it hard to organize my life. G, games, especially video games, that let you escape from reality. are favorites of Aspies. I have an excellent memory when it comes to games. E, escapism. It's vital. I don't always understand the world around myself or the way others think. I protect myself by escaping into my own world. R, rejection. It's hard to deal with, especially if it's by peers or your own age group. And S, safety, security, and satisfaction are things all Aspies crave, but seldom find unless they try. We don't succeed in normal ways, but many of us have special talents and are truly brilliant. And that's going to conclude my presentation on what is Asperger syndrome. All my work cited, all the work where I got all my sources is here cited on this little piece of paper, which I'm going to go to right now. All my sources are there. I want to thank you so much for your time, and have a good one.